one. So you've got a project coming up, a commercial job, and you want to know, are you following the guidelines in the TCNA handbook? We know what the tolerances are, right? So if we come to our TCNA handbook, we have, this is a W247. It's wood or metal studs, obviously metal studs, fiber reinforced, water resistant gypsum backer board, and then tile. So that's what this is. But we know when we're going to install tile like on this job here, this is big tile. This is 6 by 24 on the wall. So we need them flat, right? How flat? What's the standard? If it's over 15 inches, they get an 1/8 of an inch in 10 feet or a 1/16 of an inch in any 2 feet. Well, let's see how they do. When we get a job like this, it's great to see it beforehand to know what to look for once the walls are in. What's the challenges if you're not the one installing the gypsum board or your cement board? What's going on behind the wall that can cause issues? Well, let's take a look here. Here we have backing, all different sorts of backing. Here we have backing coming all the way across here. This is the grab bar. Here's your toilet. You got your grab bar that's going to come across here, so they need backing for that. Down here is the toilet paper holder, so they need backing in the wall for that. Coming across here, here's more for the grab bar coming behind the toilet. You got different framing strapping coming in around the toilet itself. Coming over here, you got the seat cover dispenser here. Paper towel dispenser goes right here, so that needs backing as well. And here we got for the mirror, you got backing high and low. But I mean, it's just a little bit of backing, right? Let's take a look and see how much it really is. If we look really close, this right here, this backing is probably about a 1/16 of an inch thick. Sometimes they take a piece of track and they will notch it out for giving it extra stiffness for backing. But when you add the screws plus the 1/16 of an inch, and because this is a stiff piece of metal, what do we have? This is what happens a lot of times. This metal is stiff, they go over it, and so then they have, this is what's going on behind here. So when you look at it this way, how much are all those things adding up? So you add those two screws, or the screws, you add the thickness of the backing, you're 3/16 of an inch at least going on behind here. Then also, if you look here, when you have a nice stud, this goes all the way top to bottom, it's straight. But what happens when you get down here? When you get down here, we have the track. So we have the track, which is the 1/16 of an inch, plus another screw. So this automatically, always the bottom is going to kick out on your walls. The bottom is always going to kick out. So now we know what's happening behind here. Let's go to another room that we've got the drywall already up in and see how this translates into what the wallboard looks like once it's been installed. All right, so now we've come down here. We were up on the 5th floor. We checked all the framing, seen what the backing is. Now here we have this bathroom, very similar. It's same thing. Here's our water resistant gypsum board down here. They made a mistake here. They were supposed to stop at about 50 inches with their taping, so the taper's gonna have to come in here and do some scraping, get off this excess taping mud, so we have a good surface to install our tile on. So if you're installing tile in a room like this, we do want to check the walls for bumps and humps or dips and things like that, but we also want to check it for square. If we take the time to check it for square, just say you have like 2 by 2 or even 1 by 1 mosaic. A wall being out a 1/2 inch is going to look horrible on either one of those. This is a 12 by 24 on the floor, so then what's the harm? Well, the harm is if we don't check this for square, and if a wall's out a square a 1/2 inch or an inch, we are then taper cutting in an entire wall. If we've gone to the contractor and explained, hey, we need to fix the walls, we fix the walls, but then we don't square them up. Well, then how do we go back to the contractor and say, hey, you need to now pay me to taper cut this wall because the wall's out of square? We should be checking that as we've done here. Check it, get you a laser square is an excellent way to do that. Just take your measurements all the way around, check for square. This room is really good and square. So this room's good, so that's all set there. So we know we're square, but are we nice and flat? So let's check. We can use something with a flat edge like this to check with. You can use something like this, but it just doesn't allow a lot of light to come through. Whenever I check walls, check floors, I like to use a feather edge, and L-edge, use the skinny edge. It lets more light come through. It's easier for you to see, easier for you than to show other people like the contractor what's going on. So as we look here, this wall is really nice and flat. Come across here, all the way down to the bottom. That's a nice flat wall that way. But then when we come here, notice what's happening there. we have, what do we figure, probably 1/4 of an inch there of a bump. But that's not all that's going on in that area. So that's horizontally. What are we doing vertically? If you come over here vertically, that's not horrible. That's pretty close to plumb. But then when you come right to here, do we see what's going on? So we've got something going on with this wall. There's a bump, some backing, maybe backing stops right there. And so if we look at the bottom of that level, we're out at least 3/16 of an inch at the bottom, if not 1/4 of an inch. So we're going to need to bring this out far enough to get past this hump in the wall. Sometimes you might be able to talk the drywall person to come in and install some 1/4 inch board over top of some of the backing if they have really bad thick backing and issues with that, and then you just have a smaller area to patch. That's one idea, but with this, they've already got this installed, and part of our contract is to do the fixing on these walls up to a certain amount. So on this is going to take a little bit more than we have figured. So we're going to go back to the contractor to get some more money to do this work, because we're out well over 1/4 of an inch here. So we're going to need to plumb. What we do is we plumb some screeds up far enough out past this so that once we float this wall all off, everything will be out even with that spot. So that'll make this wall nice and flat. And how about this wall back here? Overall, it's not bad when we look at this from side to side. So same thing, if we look in here, we've got probably a good 3/16 of an inch right in here, but we're good on both ends. So this wall basically has a big dip in the middle. The bottom is straight. The bottom is nice and straight. So what are we going to need to do? So we want to check this for plumb. When we come over here and check this for plumb, and we set this level up, we're going to have to build this out 1/4 of an inch. So that's what I've got here. We know this top has got to come out 1/4, and we're going to be down to 0 at the bottom. That's the good thing about this bottom being nice and straight. We can use that as a guide. From there is 0. Bring this top out 1/4. That'll fill all of this wall in and get rid of that dip. Since it is a wainscot, you will need to have the conversation. You're going to be out here nice and straight. There's going to be a variation behind your tile, behind your trim, whatever it is at the top. This is a metal trim that we have at the top. Behind that, the gap is going to change because this wall has a big dip in it. So either they can live with the variation behind that, or they can pay their drywall guy to come in here and add more mud to this wall, float this out so that you don't see the variation behind your straight tile. So we've got that checked. Back over here, another wall. Same thing. Remember, we got the plumbing, the straps, the mirrors, all of that going on there. As we come across here, this wall, same thing, nice and flat all the way across until we get to there. Then it also dives back. Nothing horrible, but we're still going to need to do some more work there, because when we check that, we come in and check this for plumb. This is the high spot that's there. Overall, we're pretty close to being plumb, so we just mostly need to float from here over, so that's not a huge amount of patch in that area. A little more of some dips in here, so it's just going to be easier to run us some screeds, either vertical or horizontal, and then come back and just float this whole wall. We've got this wall here with the electrical plugs. Overall, it's pretty good. It's nice and flat side to side, so you're going to want to check it. Same thing, really good, both directions, but you can let your eye be the judge. Come over here, take a look at this. We can use a door frame, and we can look at the reveal on the door frame from here all the way down. The door frame typically is going to be pretty straight. So you see how there it comes out at the bottom because of the track. So that's why we have those differences that are happening there. Just gives you an idea what you need to do for filling to get these walls nice and flat and true. So once you do this, you go through, maybe make some marks, make yourself some notes. You go get the contractor and say, this is what, your general contractor, and say, this is what we have to do to fix the walls. This is what I'm going to have for time, materials, whatever the case may be. And then you can come up and you can show why you need to do this fixing. But this is how you check walls in a commercial environment. Thanks.